Hello, everyone, and welcome back to this episode of In Lay Terms. I'm your host, Peyman, and here with us again is my good friend, Miss Patricia Conlin. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. We're having a fantastic campaign so far here in Durham.
Good to hear. Patricia, so we already did one short interview together, and we'll link to that so people can get a better sense of who you are and where you're running. Today, in the interest of time, I have a series of questions I was going to ask you, but I thought I'd reframe them. Rather than asking you specifically about housing or healthcare or overtaxing, overstressing the education system, the nexus of that seems to be immigration. So I'll let you take it away and address immigration and tie those in as you see fit.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, people who have gone down a number of rabbit holes over the last few years know there is an agenda, and it's impacting all the Western countries. You can't even, the mainstream media, no matter how much they want to try to quell it, it's overwhelming with the farmer protests here in Europe. And they will be coming to Canada unless we elect a new voice to Parliament, because Agenda 2030 was signed over by both Mulroney and Harper. Mulroney Agenda 21 and Harper Agenda 2030. And under the sustainability goals, well, with the guise of the climate, they're basically going to push out farmers and all of these restrictions and excess taxes to impoverish people. Now, does that help the climate? No. Many of the top scientists in the world say it absolutely does not, and it's a fraud to enrich the globalist elite. Now, you don't even have to believe that to see what's happening in communities. Devastation, and that's why I gave up everything that I've had, that I've loved, my work, my career, a lot of friends, because the censorship is so extreme in Canada, as are the algorithms to silo people. So you have to get out with the people, and that's what I've been doing. But the crux of Agenda 2030, for those who don't know, is mass unsustainable immigration. And through that, with so many people coming in, it will overwhelm the system. It will cause what we're seeing already is people aren't getting treatments in Canada. They're dying waiting for treatments. That's Canadians. Just a shameful thing. We have kids, record numbers of suicide because they don't have any hope that they'll ever be able to buy a home or afford a better life, or maybe even have a child. So record levels of hopelessness. We have, and I have great respect for immigrants. So using that like racist label just isn't going to hit with me. I love all people. Some of my best friends when I lived abroad had fled Tehran from the wars, and we were like best friends. Incredible people, have similar values. The people who support me the most in this campaign are coming from other countries. They're coming from India. They're coming from the Middle East. They have similar values, and they're supporting me not only because they think there's too many immigrants. The number of stories I can't even describe, but I'll have a gentleman from India say, I had to come here and qualify and work hard and have skills. And he said, so-and-so, and he mentioned a name. He goes, he's even complaining. He gets a clothing allowance, a housing allowance. He goes, all these things, and he says, that's not enough. And he doesn't plan to work here, ever. So we get people coming over now, flooding in, claiming refugee status. No intention of work. They don't speak English, and they're not intending to work here. So it's a different thing altogether. And what that's causing is mass use of food banks is skyrocketing. And the people who need it, Canadian citizens, families who are struggling to pay their bills, there's not enough food for them. So, I always say, like, for people who think it's being kind to extend a goodwill to people fleeing tyranny, is that even in a crisis on a plane, you put your own mask on first before you help your own child. And we're in that crisis point now. We have record homelessness. We have veterans who are choosing MAID medically assisted dying because they can't pay their bills. And that is a shameful thing. These people who sacrifice for us, for our freedoms, are now have no hope in our Canadian government. With people having to flee to the States or other countries, I've heard many stories of people going to Mexico for treatments because they can't get them here. So it's a crisis point. There's so many things happening, but the crux of it is we must lower immigration. And that's resonating. The message in our campaign, our own flyers, if you can see them here, People First and Canada First policies, we're delivering them as many doors as possible, make a difference and send a message to Ottawa. And one of the things that people love is that we will say we must lower immigration. It doesn't mean it always has to be lower, but we must lower it. We must better qualify people coming in and balance it properly with jobs, which we actually don't have enough of. I've seen many videos of young people applying to over 1,000 jobs. So I'm not sure who's got the right data on jobs. This cheery message of great economic strength, I think that's a ruse as well. So we don't have enough jobs, we don't have enough doctors, nurses, and we certainly don't have enough houses. And no matter what Polyev says, you're not going to be able to build more houses than we have historically over the last few decades, even if you remove red tape. And what he's promoting is high-density housing, which many rural communities like mine are rejecting. Can you imagine you have a quarter-acre property and just down the road now is a 50-story apartment building? People are up in arms. It's destroying the fabric of communities. The other thing is they want to build on prime green spaces, prime farmland they want to build. So people have to really examine, why do we need so many immigrants? It's always good to have immigrants for skilled labor, but why are we having this mass flood? And it's happening in other Western countries as well. So even if you don't understand what Agenda 30 means, you can see that you're getting poorer, you're getting sicker, and the services that your taxpayer dollars pay for are being greatly reduced in their ability to provide for you. Like for myself, the only service that I value that I use is the garbage service. So I'd love to give those guys a tip. If ever I see them, I thank them every time. So mass unsustainable immigration is wreaking havoc on societies. And you do have people, they're not being qualified, so you do have some people who are agitated and radical coming in. Most people are just desperate, though, and I feel for them, honestly. But I hope that we could do better as Canadians. We must look after our own before we extend a helping hand to others. And hopefully we can help by being peacekeepers and supporting the government to do better for their own people. Because most people I talk to would rather be in their own country as well. So that's another hard fact. So it's a key point in this election, and none of the other parties, not even do they not talk about it, they pretend it doesn't exist, but they have no solution for it.
Thank you, Patricia. It's my understanding that you used to be a business owner, correct?
Yeah, I still have a business, but I've sort of put that on hold. Yeah, I had a recruitment firm. I've had it for more than 20 years, so I've met people from all over the world. Wonderful people in technology and engineering with incredible skills came to Canada for a better life. And a lot of those people want to leave. They don't like it here. They say it's too expensive. They don't like the radical ideologies being pushed in the schools. And a lot of them are fed up with Canada. They said it's not a good country anymore, and it doesn't have the respect of the world. So yeah, I mean, because through my business and some of the things I've done internationally, I was part of the 1992 Olympic contingent to Barcelona. I went over to Russia for a conference as well. I've lived abroad in Germany. I've traveled extensively. I've seen the real devastation of communism. And now when I walk the streets, I see something similar, hopelessness. People are so desperate. Their homes are in disarray. There's a lot of notices where people are being removed from their homes. So it's a really difficult situation for many people, financially. And we already knew that people were barely hanging on with their debt load. And with all of the carbon taxes putting the pressure on inflation, you see the signs, like grocery stores in almost every community have security guards now because of the theft. And even in our local store, they have gates to track people, which is a terrible thing. And it's exacerbating the problem. So it's not solving the problem, it's making it worse.
So where I was going with that is, like, as a business owner, when you have a business, you have to be cash flow positive. Like, you have to make revenue. I mean, you can get a loan and be in debt in a few years, but what you can't do is hire employees and say, all right, come and, I don't know, give me $100,000. And you certainly can't then turn around and give them subsidies. So what is going on in Canada, where our government, by definition, they're not generating profit, and they're importing these immigrants, and then they're giving them money? Like, what is this, just clown world? There's no one behind the wheel? What's their intent?
Well, absolutely, I agree. I mean, when you see cycles for over 20 years and economic downturns, and I've experienced a number of them. My business started in 1991, right? And I've never lost money. And during the lean years, and there were lean years, you have to lay off staff sometime. You have to really consolidate. You have to have your top performers. You have to be very careful what you spend. You reduce expenses. That's just normal cycle of business. You can take a few more risks during positive times, but you have to focus on your strengths and minimize the expenses. And yeah, that's not being done anywhere. But the thing about having refugees who don't speak even English and don't have the intention to work is a lot of them are coming here and we're already stressed to the max. So it doesn't make any logical sense to keep loading Canadians with more debt load when you look out your window, you see tent cities, you see youth committing suicide in record numbers. They have no hope in their future. There's something very wrong morally about that. A moral society looks after their own people, and of course you extend kindness to others, but only after you've looked after your own. So we're good at giving away drugs for free, and that's causing record overdoses in Canada, and the data is clear. But we're not very good at looking after our people's health. Our healthcare system is a train wreck. I mean, there's gross corruption. I don't even think we have time to go into that. But Dr. Merrick has really identified some really terrific things, and some of the prominent Canadian doctors like Dr. Trozy, Dr. Hoff, Dr. Shoemaker, and many others have identified, that our medical establishment, our healthcare is captured by big pharma, and they aren't really treating people anymore. They're giving them these drugs, so it's chemical drug-based system that doesn't treat the root cause, and often is causing more harm than good. I just listened to a podcast. Tucker Carlson interviewed someone about this new diabetes drug, and so many lawsuits already. We can't just take a pill to solve problems, because we have to step into full responsibility here. We have a lot of problems. We have physical health problems in our country, and in many countries we have corruption in all bodies of government. We have issues with our judicial system, and we're seeing all of this. But what it requires for us to step in hard with resilience and faith and fix it. And that means new leaders have to come up. The area I've chosen to help fix is political. And I do believe we'll need new leaders at all levels, federal, provincial, and local, in order to course correct and return sovereignty to the people. But absolutely, I don't know when we've ever been in such a mess, to be honest.
I think the audience, because you're on the front lines, so you're going door to door and you're talking to people. Some of them support you, some of them are indifferent, some of them oppose your views. Specifically to the ones that oppose your views, what is their position for supporting something like immigration? Can you share that with us?
Yeah, I mean, and I have to say there's been a shift through whatever process, whether it's the alternative media awakening or the people who are out there talking. I mean, a lot of people go out knocking on doors because they see that's the only way. But from 2021, when I ran, to now, people are a lot more open to the message. There's a couple of people who say, I don't like you, you're racist. And then I'll say, yeah, that's absolutely not true. I speak some pieces of a bunch of languages, and I have great respect for other cultures, other faiths, each person. I don't care the color of your skin, and it's always been that way. And they go, oh, well, maybe it's, they have a hard time dealing with the fact that I always counter it's not true. So that the biggest accusation, false accusation and slander is always, that's racist to not want immigrants. And then I'll say things like, is it kind when we have record homelessness, we have record suicide in our youth, we're not looking after our own people? Do you think that's kind? So, it gets people thinking, because no one ever pushes back, even a little. So that's probably the number one thing about immigration. But a lot of people, even like hardcore liberals, are saying, I'm voting for you, because they understand the pain personally. Once the pain hits you personally, I think that's the way people are, unfortunately. If it's not hitting them personally, they're like, oh, whatever, just stay with status quo. But once the pain hits you personally, then you have to reevaluate. And I've got quite a few liberals saying, I'm voting for you now, because they're not getting treatment for whatever illness they have. And they're like, this isn't fair. So now they're saying, I don't care about anything else, but yeah, we got to lower immigration. I'm not getting my treatment. So that's something that seems to be happening now. So those are some of the things around immigration. And of course, the conservatives are pushing mass and sustainable immigration as much as anyone. It's almost humorous now. People notice when they talk to Polyev, he dances around, he schmoozes, he uses his buzzwords, but he's incapable of saying either lower or reduce. And once you pay attention, you see he's not intending to do that.
We got maybe another 5 minutes. I had one question. So a few weeks ago, Alberta came out, and the Alberta Health Services, they issued a warning. They said, we are 1 week away from implosion. What they're saying is we need to throw more money at the problem. If you look at immigration, for as long as I can remember, they've been telling us that we have an aging population. I guess, I don't know. Maybe this is something in the Canadian DNA. We never have a younger population. So what if when you get in, what will you do differently than just this alarmist rhetoric that we've become so used to?
You know what? It's an amazing way to finish, because I have studied energy and frequency and human consciousness, some of this stuff. But when you're stuck in fear, you don't see a future, right? If you're being fear mongered too, then you're just in that like survival mode, and that's when you don't want to invest in the future. You don't want to have children. You're just in survival mode. When you can send a message to people of hope and a positive future, they're willing to take the risk to invest in a better future. When you can inspire people that it's worth looking after yourself and looking after your neighbor, like Jesus said, love God with all your heart and love your neighbor as yourself. And because we've become so selfish and self-centered, and we've forgotten all the messages that make a healthy community, once you get a different message, I refuse to be fearful. I mean, I like to tell people the truth, and some of the hard truths, it's important, but then I really want people to step into courage and be inspired to take action. Enough of this going down the rabbit holes in social media. Get out and talk to your neighbors. Do something in the community. Take action. We're called to take action to create the better future, and it's incredible what you can do with a small group of people. And people are open, because even the number of people I've talked to at the door who were in such a sad mood that day, they felt overwhelmed. And when I just tell them the truth, but then we share a laugh and I inspire them, I think that really has an incredible impact on their whole day. So, I mean, each of us can do a lot just by talking to each other and talking to people outside of our little bubble. So yeah, I mean, healthcare is a big one, and there's a lot that can be done to improve that. I could even do that on a different topic because I'm well versed in some things in healthcare, and I think people can be excited that if we can recapture our government federally, locally, and provincially, we can start to improve healthcare there. I think there's a lot of real good treatments and alternative treatments that have been repressed from people, and you can just step into your own health by getting outside, getting lots of sun.
Patricia,
drinking.
We lost you mid-sentence.
You must get off the tap water. I stress that for everyone. Having an alkaline diet, lots of vegetables if you can, forwarded organic food, support a farmer. You are what you eat, so get outside, exercise, and eat decently is a huge message that'll improve your mood and your physical health. And then take some risks. Go out and talk to people. Not everyone's going to like you, but it really helps.
But I'll hit you with a new one. Parental rights. What's your view on parental rights, and what's your campaign platform vis-a-vis parental rights?
Oh, thank you. That's an excellent question, and it's one of the reasons I got involved and stepped up in the beginning. What's happening to our children is harmful. You know, when the kids were forced to take an experimental product to play hockey, and young adults even to go to university, I really went all out. You know, I was very upset about kids being masked in school. The science as we know now is just not behind that. But when you have schools who have carte blanche to teach radical ideologies, you're going to have problems. And you can understand that it's not going in a good direction because our kids have never been sicker, more depressed, and their academic scores are plummeting. And so when all three parties a few years ago, the Conservatives, Liberal, and the NDP Uniparty, as I call them, they voted to remove parental rights. And I take a strong stand to protect parental rights. And so when elected, I will repeal that bill, Bill C4, and restore balance in the schools, restore parental rights. Nobody loves their children more than parents. And that was one of those horrifically gross government overreaches, again, endorsed by the Conservatives. People don't understand it is a uniparty. So I do take a strong stand. A lot of Christians, Muslims, and Hindi parents are supporting my campaign because they've seen me in action, not just words, speaking for the Million March, speaking at the Durham District School Board, calling out this agenda that's harming our kids, that's dividing them, teaching them to hate their own God-given bodies. And these are radical ideologies. And, you know, I have great respect for the LGBTQ community. This is not against them, but when you're indoctrinating young people, you're using graphic sexual material. It's inappropriate, it's disturbing, and then you're pushing these drugs that are incredibly toxic, like Lupron, sterilizing the kids, causing arthritis, cognitive decline on a young person that's already going through a lot of growth and confusion during their teenagers. That all of this needs to be outlawed and banned under a certain age. This is an adult decision only, and it should be free to make as an adult. But children should be protected from the harm of these drugs, these ideologies, and certainly these mutilating surgeries, in my opinion.
Patricia, how can our audience help out your campaign?
Well, please, if anyone is local, we definitely need more boots on the ground to talk to people. People are not happy with the choices, and it doesn't take much to convince them. We still have everyday people who have never heard of the People's Party because of the media censorship. So when you tell them and you show them what we stand for, they're like, I want to sign. But there's just thousands and thousands and thousands of people to reach. So if you do live close and you want to do something incredibly meaningful, you can go to my website, PatriciaConlin.ca. If you don't live close but you want to help our campaign, build our war chest, we have an incredible team, and we've done top-of-the-line promotional and flyer materials just to get the word out. This is our piece, if you can see it. what everything we stand for. We also have done huge signage. We probably have not as much as the Conservative, but other than the Conservatives, the most signs up. And we're doing a number of events. Max is coming into town this Saturday, and we're expecting a massive crowd. And then next weekend, he's coming again, and hopefully Josh Alexander will be coming with him. And then later in the campaign, we're hoping to get Randy Hillier out. So it's going to be really exciting. Lots of things to do. So thank you for, and even a kind word it means a lot to me, because we are up against a lot. So send an encouraging note. That means a lot as well.
And is there an email address they can get in touch with you, or a website?
Yes, PatriciaConlin.ca. Just my first name, last name.ca, and everything. Want to volunteer, want to donate, all the buttons are there, and everything's helpful to help us win this election.
Perfect. So you heard that, everybody. Go check out her website. Get in touch with her if you can help her out. Ms. Conlin, thank you very much for coming on, and we wish you the best of luck with your campaign, and
Thank you so much.
with your hopefully with your upcoming victory.
Thank you, Peyman. It's great to get to know you. Have a great evening. Bye now.
You too. Bye.